Hey, beloveds, it is Dr. Tad with your daily-ish freebie. Trigger warning, we are going to do a deep dive in domestic violence awareness, and I will be sharing parts of my story. So trigger warning, and when I say trigger warning, it is encouraging us to acknowledge our triggers and then do what's necessary to heal from them, to not let them overcome us, to acknowledge them, because we're here to feel all the feels in order for us to move, to evolve, to grow, to honor ourselves, to honor our imperfections, to honor the learning the lessons. So I was in a domestic violence relationship in my second marriage. I don't want this to be ascribed to my first husband, who I consider a friend. And at the time, I was just going into ordained ministry. And as a single Black woman, I was approached by married men. I was just a lot of ill behaviors. And I felt like I needed some protection. I was in a space where on the outside looking in, I seemed to have, self-love, self-esteem. But on the inside, I didn't have those things. I didn't love myself enough to recognize when love is not in the room and love is not being served at the table. So please let me add this disclaimer. I don't care. I'm sorry, I'm outside and those little firefly things, they scare me. This disclaimer, I don't care. No, not that I don't care. In the midst of your struggles, of your low self-esteem or lack of self-love, or experiencing domestic violence in your family, and this is all you know, that is no excuse for anyone to treat you violently. Physical, spiritual, emotional, mental, none of it. So let me put a pin there, because this is a dichotomy between blaming and owning where I was in that moment, owning the relationship that I was in prior to getting married to a person who was a pastor, who was divorced, and who was a womanizer. And I realized that this person was a womanizer when he had a health scare, and I was called and I responded. I'll leave out some of the details because it's not germane to this moment. And I show up to the hospital, and there is another woman there, and she falls into my arms because she knows me, and she's crying, and she's like, whatever. And then the ex-wife calls me, because we're all a part of, I'm a part of ministry. I am a part of ministry, so I know everyone. And she calls me, and she's like, what happened? And so I'm stuck in the middle, and I am a victim, if you will, of this person's ill behavior. So I felt like I needed to be supported, protected, and I decided to marry someone who I was able to be truly authentic and tell my story, and he still loved me. I felt protected. We prayed together. We read scripture together. He would take me to work every day. He would call me 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times a day. I thought, oh, this is so cute. This is so precious. He doesn't want me to take the train. So he drives me to downtown Manhattan, where I worked at the time, on Pearl Street. He picked me up. He would call me throughout the day. And it was cute in the beginning, because, again, I was looking for love in all the wrong places. Instead of looking for love within and the God in me, I was looking for someone else to give me the love that I could not give myself. Again, not victim blaming, owning where I was mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. So I ended up very quickly marrying this person. Because I was going into ministry, I felt that I needed to be protected from all of the men that would hit on me, that would slide me their number with a handshake, hug me a little too tight, slide their hand down to my, all of those things were happening in the church. So I got married, and the possessiveness became increasing. If I wanted to go to the store, it would be, why are you going to the store? I'm going with you. What are you going to get? What took you so long? And so it began to increase. And one pivotal moment in our relationship, I was pregnant, and I had a miscarriage. Asia Rose would have been her name. And when I had the miscarriage, it was a result of him and we got into an argument, and it became physical, where he threw me to the ground, put a razor to my neck, and, said all types of things threatening me. And then later on, I unfortunately suffered a miscarriage. Why do I share that in this moment? I share that because I want beloveds to know that there is no shame in excuse me, the choices that you make because of where you are and what your lot is in life. What the challenge is understanding that you are beloved, you are divine, you are worthy of love, you are enough. And there is no one or nobody that should have the power to take that away from you. And learning to believe it for yourself so that you can teach others how to treat you, to love yourself and attract that same type of love, so people are loving you in a way where you are worthy and you are more than enough, and loving you beyond your situations and circumstances. You are not your past. You are not your past decisions. You are not a mistake. You are not the mistakes that you have made. You do not deserve to be in a relationship that is violent, full stop. So I had to learn to love myself in seminary while I was trying to get away from my abuser. And we'll talk more about that tomorrow. This is not a Risa Tisa part 1 through 50. This is part 1. Part 2, I invite you to join me to talk about my experience as I was working through leaving my domestic violent relationship. I love you, beloveds. I share my story, not for my self-aggrandizement, so that there is a face to survivorship. There is a face to life after being in a domestic violent relationship. There is life after learning to love myself. There is life after trusting again and loving community and having the capacity to love again. First and foremost, myself, God, and the God in me. So I will see you for part 2 on tomorrow. Much love, peace, and blessings, beloved.